पंचतत्व भगवान की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रमयी की जय। श्री श्री गंधर्विका गिरिधारी श्रीमन महाप्रभु की जय। हरे कृष्णा। Very, very warm welcome to everybody for this morning's Japa Yagna. Again, on behalf of my leader, I thank all the people who came in and performed their service for that 15 minutes. Hare Krishna. As always, we move on to the next section of the morning meeting, that is the Srimad Bhagavatam discussion. So before that, we do a very, very short kirtan and then move on. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे जय गांधर्विक गिरिधारी गौर हरि गांधर्विक गिरिधारी गौर हरि जय हो लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय हो अनंत दे लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय हो अनंत दे जय हो भक्त वत्सला श्री बालाजी भक्त वत्सला श्री बालाजी नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। पतित पावन गुरुदेव की जय। निथाय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं तुति ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु बद्धेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। Reading from Canto 2, Chapter 6, titled Purusha Sukta Confirmed. We are in verse number 19. So, the verses goes like this. Padeshu sarva bhutani pumsa sthiti pado viduhu amritam kshemam abhayam trimurdanah अध्यासि मूर्धसु पादेषु सर्वभूतानि पुंस्तास्थितिपदो विदुः अमृतं क्षेमम् अभयं त्रिमूर्धन अदायि मूर्धसौ. Word to word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravind A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be known as the supreme reservoir of all material opulences by the 1/4 of His energy, in which all the living entity exists. Deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from anxiety of old age and disease exist in the kingdom of God, which is beyond the three higher planetary systems and beyond material coverings. purport. Out of the total manifestations of the Sandhini energy of the Lord, one-fourth is displayed in the material world, and three-fourths are displayed in the spiritual world. The Lord's energy is divided into three components, namely Sandhini, Samvit, and Ladini. In other words, he is full of manifestation of existence, knowledge, and bliss. In the material world, such an sense of existence, knowledge, and pleasure is merely exhibited. And all the living entities who are minute parts and parcels of the Lord are eligible to release such consciousness of existence, knowledge, and bliss very minutely in the liberated stage. Whereas in conditioned stage of the material existing, they can hardly appreciate what is factual, existential, cognizable, and pure happiness of life. The liberated souls who who exist is far greater numerical strength than those souls in the material world can factually experience the potency of the above mentioned Sannidhi, Samvit, and Naradini energies of the Lord in the matter of deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from old age and disease. In the material world, the planetary systems are arranged in three spheres called Triloka or Swarga, Martya, and Patala. And all of them constitute only one-fourth of the total Sandhini energy. Beyond that is the spiritual sky where the Vaikuntha planets exist beyond the coverings of the seven material strata. In none of the three Triloka planetary systems can one experience the state of immortality. Okay, full of knowledge and full bliss. The upper three planetary systems are called Sattvika planets because they provide facilities for a long term duration of life and relative freedom from the disease of old age or disease and old age, as well as sense of fearlessness. The great sages and the saints are promoted beyond the heavenly planets to Maharloka, but that also is not a place of complete fearlessness because at the end of the Kalpa, the Maharloka is annihilated and the inhabitants have to transport themselves to a still higher planet. Yet, even on those planets, no one is immune to death. There are comparative extensions of life, expansions of knowledge, and sense of full bliss. But factual deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from old age disease are possible only beyond the material spheres of the coverings of the material sky. Such things are situated on the head. Adhyay Murdusu. We'll go in for the discussion. Before that, I'll tell the prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जलशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपगदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशताय हरे कृष्णा Hare Krishna. Again, before I even start, let me just say, these subject matter of these verses are so very technical, so very difficult to understand. So, whatever I'm doing is purification for my own self. And thanks to the leaders for giving all of us such a wonderful opportunity where early in the morning we get to hear Bhagavatam and purify ourselves. Hare Krishna. So I'll read the verse again. Padastrayas. Oh, no, that is the next verse. Padeshu sarva bhutani pumstasthiti pado viduhu amritam kshemam avayam trimurdano adhyayamurtasu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as the supreme reservoir of all material opulences by the one-fourth of his energy in which all the living entity exists. Deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from anxieties of old age and disease exist in the kingdom of God, which is beyond the three higher planetary systems and beyond material coverings. So we are still in the subject matter where we are discussing using that, yesterday our Mayur Prabhu was saying, Ekapada Vibhuti and Tripada Vibhuti. Or better, we can put it as we're discussing spiritual world as versus material world in a way. Okay. So yesterday you all would have heard, and even in today's verse, very clearly it's mentioned Sandhini energy, or Lord, which is one-fourth is displayed in the material world. So, so we've been hearing this aspect of one-fourth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's energies and three-fourth of his energies and things. Does it mean that his Lord limited to his one-fourth of his capacity in the material world? He cannot increase beyond that 25%. Does it mean Lord is limited? No, not at all, right? He can increase anything. It's not like that. That three-fourth is there, exact 75% is there, or three-fourth of his energy, he cannot increase it by 1% or something. No, it is just a figurative way of expressing so that we all can understand how great the Lord is. Actually, if one reads all this second chapter, that is the technical verses, which is again formation of the foundation. We need to know how great the Lord is. What we can understand is that we cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or we cannot understand his energy. So Prabhupada used to say, it's not enough if you know how great the Lord is. You need to know, it's not enough if you say, Lord is very great. You need to know how great the Lord is, like that, So there is no absolute measurement. Just like when we all started Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, we come to know, right, the what is the size of the soul. They say, Acharyas are very nicely explained. You cut the tip of the hair, and from the tip you cut it into 100 pieces, and that particular one you again cut it into 100 more, 1000. Does it mean it's the exact measurement? Can we put, say, 0.000 something? No, it is not. It is just a, say, we can call it as Acharya's best attempt for us to relate. Because there is, if you don't, because unfortunately our mind cannot perceive more than what this material, what we see, and so something to do with relatable to us to understand, they have made their best efforts, right? So, one of the slides yesterday, Mayur Prabhu was mentioning that the whole, he used up all other Milky Waves he showed, and then he said, for this Milky Way, the time and the light, it takes some billions of years, whatever the technical aspect he gave. The point is, if you say that, that is when we understand, acha, this is so big, even for a light to pass from this end to then, it takes so much. And if that Milky Way is in that, we are in a small place called Earth, and if that is just one mustard in the bag of mustard or something like that, for us to understand, look how wonderful is the creation of the Lord, right? So in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada talks about, two categories. In all the verses, almost he says, right, conditioned soul, liberated soul. Here, he's talking about three other energies, which is Sandhini energy, Samvit, and Ladini energy, right? It is just that these are all energies. Just for a very, very brief, we'll just understand, because I'm sure all of you know this in detail. Sandhini is your Sat energy, your eternal, that existential aspect. It maintains the entire eternal existence, right? Spiritual abodes, forms, paraphernalia of the Supreme Lord. The Samvit is the chit part, which is the knowledge, the cognitive aspect, and it is a potency of pure knowledge, the consciousness by which the Lord knows Himself. We can also say where the Lord allows others to know Him in a way, right? And Ladini potency, the wonderful Ananda, the pleasure potency, the bliss aspect, the pleasure, the Ananda aspect of it. This, and we all know it is this pleasure potency is personified by none other than Srimati Radharani. They are also allowing Krishna and his devotees to experience spiritual bliss. So it is allowing it. So Radharani is allowing all this. So the question for all of you is, let's just 1 minute make it interactive. In this material world, is there any Ladini potency or not? I'm asking whether is there any Ladini potency or not in this material world. Okay. Morning, all of you are very busy doing other things. But let me give you an example and make it easier. Imagine it was Mayur Prabhu who started the Rasagulla factory yesterday. So let's take the same Rasagulla. If you is Lord invested Ladini potency in this object or in this sweet? Like that, the question is. Okay. Is there any possibility? Can anyone share, if possible, whether any Ladini potency is invested in that? Okay. So I'll just, okay, let me make it even more simpler. Now I'll tell you this Sugulla is not even offered. I'm still asking this question. It is the simple Rasgulla which people take it out of KC Das and just immediately pop it without, there's no concept of offering. Okay. So the point is anybody who eats a rasgulla feels a little bit happiness. I mean, they feel happy, they feel bliss. Okay. My question was there any Ladini potency invested? So the answer is a big no. Okay. What you experience is just a reflection of Ladini potency. Actually, in fact, it's not even a reflection. It is just a minute portion, minute part of the reflection of the actual potency of the Supreme Personality of God. Right? So the Ladini potency will not, if I could say, manifest in this material world. Okay. Now, question is, where will it manifest? It manifests only in the heart of a devotee, where there is bhakti. Okay. When we had met first time, His Holiness Bhakti Vinod Maharaj, he was telling, I don't have Krishna in my heart. I was wondering, what is he saying? Understood much later what he meant. Right? Only when there's bhakti in the heart. Of course, he was being humble when he was telling that. So all the material objects, what we are getting, uh, some small happiness just because of the reflection, as I said, the minute part of the reflection of Ladini potency. This is the same one which we call Svarga Sukha and all that. No, they're all same. I mean, it's basically the temporary energy of the Lord and not the actual Ladini potency, right? Samvit is invested in the Jivatma, right? Because it's the Tathastha Shakti. We are all. So if you go and ask brick and mortar, do you know? He will not say, I don't know, I'm a brick, I don't know, I'm a mortar, right? Brick does not know. Whereas Jivatma is also Satchitananda, but in a minute position, infinitely small. And actually, that is our constitutional position of the Jivatma, also, you all know. But however, Lord is infinite. We are infinitely small. So, Srila Prabhupada is saying, who can experience these three potencies? He says in the purport, uh, only liberated souls, right? Only liberated souls, that too, how much? Only in minute capacity. Just like you can carry water in your hand or a small pot. Like similarly, the capacity of the Jivatma cannot hold, more potency. Forget even holding. We even, words can't even describe the potency of the Lord, right? We are all, that's why we are taking relative ways to explain it, right? How is it possible now? That people are understanding wonderful Srila Prabhupada, how is it given it to all of us because of the blessings of the Lord. They can experience all the potencies of the Lord. Let's take nannies, for example. They also experience some bliss. My other question would have been today is that do you think they experience bliss when they merge into the Lord? Can anyone answer this? Do you think Nanis experience bliss when they, or the happiness when they, Ananda when they merge into the Lord?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Mm.
I don't know who mentioned it, but I want to tell you, Gnanis cannot experience bliss without element of bhakti. Please understand, all of you, Prabhujis and Matajis. You can take anybody, yogis. You can even say Nishkama Karmis, who says, I'm not behind the results of the work. I'm a Nishkarma Karma yogi. They cannot also be not successful without element of bhakti. Without the process of bhakti, they cannot get the kripa of Bhakti Maharani. Impossible for the bhaktas. Only when we do sadhana, we get the bliss, or bliss is bestowed upon us. The kripa is there only when we do sadhana. So, Bhakti Maharani kripa is directly proportional to the bhakti we do. In the fourth chapter, it is there, right? Which is that verse? Ye etamam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. What does it say? The Lord is saying, I reward them accordingly. As much as they surrender, I reward them accordingly. Everyone who follows my path in all respects, O son of Prata. So, what is Prabhupada saying? Liberated soul can experience but bliss limitedly. Another point is Prabhupada is mentioning here is that will the conditioned soul experience all the three potencies of the Lord? Let's see what Prabhupada is writing. He says, somewhere in the first paragraph, knowledge and bliss is minutely in the whereas in the conditioned state of material existing, they can hardly appreciate what is factual, existential, cognizable, and pure happiness of life. Right? So hardly appreciate. Right? And then Prabhupada goes on to say, okay, let's understand what it is. Factually means, uh, the cognizable, factual. There are these five miseries, right? Ignorance, material conception, attachment, hatred, absorption. All it's cognizable. They have consciousness, right? In the sense that if you go in spiritual world and if you say a pot also knows that he is a pot. I mean, I didn't say the example brick because I thought it's more relatable. Pot also says they know. Everybody there in the spiritual world are aware of their consciousness, that cognizable. It's not possible for a conditioned soul also here in, though it is a constitutional position to serve the Supreme Lord. Okay, let's see whether it is possible for a soul to get this bliss. Okay, how? We all know this. This is a very, very fundamental, basic aspect of Krishna consciousness. Only when the soul gets an association of pure devotee, association of devotees, and when they sit together like this, when they sit together, do japa, when they sit together like what we are doing now, reading Bhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita, they understand what is Atma and they understand what is the actual position. And then when they start subtracting few things, what do they subtract initially, devotees? They just subtract a few bad habits. Actually, they start adding Krishna in their lives. Much later, they think of start doing subtracting. When they do the subtraction, that is your deletion of these bad habits, that is when they experience bliss. And many of us, like this in the Zoom session in the morning, have experienced this, right? So this knowledge, Gnanis do not have this facility. Please understand, Matajis and Prabhujis, they cannot experience bliss. They do not understand these potencies. Why they do not? Because they simply don't have the association of pure devotee who can actually come and explain what is factually knowledge which is in the revealed scriptures. That is why Srila Prabhupada mentioned always Bhagavad Gita as it is. He didn't want it to be, diluted. All others also, there are so many copies of Bhagavad Gita. Which copy is made many devotees? It is the as it is which is made many devotees. It is true that Gnanis understand. Okay, one aspect Jnanis are correct. Gnanis understand the world is misery. They understand the objects are the cause for the misery. They think male, female get attracted. All this they understand it very well. So they find a solution. What is the solution? Gnanis say, okay, hence we reject all of these. I don't want any form of forms, taste, color. They think all these are just attachment. Okay, how foolish! It is like that cat. No, you give a cat hot milk, and next time you give cat that milk. There's a story, right? The cat thinks, oh, it is very hot. I don't want it. Just start running away, just because of the bad experience, right? Similarly, jnanis reject all the forms of the Lord, color, anything. I mean, they just think all this anything in this material world is just a cause for misery. There is some truth in it, right? But it's not the full truth. Okay, devotees know what is how to enjoy the material world. I mean, anyone comes into ISKCON and they see some of the Pushpa Abhisheka, 500 kgs of flower, the way hundreds and hundreds of Donna Prasadam we offer. We enjoy the Prasadam when Lord honors it. We use all kinds of instrument. You see some of the festivals, including flute, guitar, any instrument, they all come, and what do? They made their dovetail towards the service of the Lord, right? They come up with such wonderful, soulful bhajans, kirtans. This is how we need to preach to the general public. That is, if you need to experience all the three potencies in full and in actual, we need to ensure that you utilize this human body to perform bhakti, to experience some of them in this material world itself, right? So now, always we need to remember, how did we come into this? Because of some Vaishnava's kripa, right? We got some mercy, the knowledge, and hence we cannot be selfish. We must preach. We must become missionaries and not just say, I'm also a part of ISKCON, I'm just attending my Sunday feast, I'm enjoying. No, we must ensure this message of Srila Prabhupada, this message of Gurudev reaches far and wide. Now, why do we need to do this in general public? This is a very, very simple answer, because the general public, no matter how pious they are, how they call themselves, I'm honest citizen, I'm leading a very peaceful life, I'm not disturbing others, I'm just doing good karma, I'm nishkama karma, whatever it is, they cannot come to know knowledge of bhakti. How do they go? How to go back home, back to God? They will not understand. What is spiritual objects? They won't know. What is spiritual absolute truth? What is purification means? What is truth? What is purified objects in the spiritual? Nothing they would know. Because take for us, for example, unless we had not touched the Bhagavad Gita, this Bhagavatam, where is 3/4? What is 1/4? How beautiful are they? Wish giving tree. All this, how would we know? Only scriptures. Now, you might say the scriptures are available, right? There are details, but the jnanis, the problem with them is that even if you give them all the scriptures and they just think these are all atharvada, right? Your exaggeration. They think these are not fact. Like if you go into a market, one vendor will say, right, I'm selling the best mangoes. Oh, Prabhuji, Mataji, buy this. Mine is the best. Now, why is he saying that? How do we confirm it is the best unless you go to the entire market and taste everything, right? So we commonly, very common understanding is he is doing this for his sales. He is doing it so that he's glorifying his mangoes, we can call it, like in case in spiritual words. Similarly, what these nannies unfortunately think is these scriptures, they are all glorifying the spiritual kingdom. There are cows, there are rickshaws, no seasons for the fruit, anytime it will come. They think, they kind of use the same analogy which I just said, and they think, oh, these are all examples. Okay. So there is no way they will come to know unless and until there is a devotee. There is a ISKCON devotee who goes and carries the message of Prabhupada, at least invites him to the temple for a Sunday feast, and then all the other devotees start explaining these details to him given by Srila Prabhupada. Then slowly and steadily, we can understand that he will also experience bliss. So, preaching, which is actually meaning going out, and of course, thanks to online, even now we can do it this way. It is not a choice, it's our duty to share it to others. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains the three murdhanas. Okay. What does he say? Three murdha. He calls it Triloka, which is Swarga, Martya, or Patala. Right? So, all of this is still Sandhini energy of the Lord. So, Prabhupada goes on to say that beyond this is the spiritual sky. And what does he say? Where the Vaikuntha planets exist beyond the coverings of the seven material strata. In none of the Triloka planetary systems can one experience a state of immortality full of knowledge and bliss. So it is none of them. The important point is this Nobody can experience the immortality, knowledge, and full bliss in none of them. Okay, there is another, which 40 already. So I'll just share the other aspects. There are three important words here, right? Amritam, Kshemam, and Abhayam. Right? What are these? We all know that it is deathlessness, and Abhayam means fearlessness, Kshemam, auspiciousness. The three aspects available only above the three material manifestations, right? So we are at the material world. We are expect. What are we? What say experiencing, if I may say, opposite of all the three. We are experiencing death. We are experiencing fear. Like yesterday, Mayur Prabhu said nicely, "What is fear?" And he was explaining how to with a goat and a wolf. I think example, right? And we are experiencing inauspiciousness. How can we say all of the three are available in the spiritual world? That is why this particular, though it's a very technical chapter, it is very very important. I think somewhere in the ninth chapter of the canto, when it is, of course, we'll go through all this. Our wonderful devotees will explain. Brahmaji was explaining when he was caught up in the dark, and after his tapas, when Krishna was pleased, he was shown all the Vaikuntha planets, right? He says, Swadrishtabdhir Purusher Abhishtutam. So, what does it actually say? This transcendental abode of Lord is adored by self-realized persons freed from all kind of miseries and fear of illusionary existence. Which means there, Brahmaji himself is saying that when realized soul, when Brahman realized, we can call it, they are all experiencing this. Which means somebody will desiring this. Somebody will desire only something is better, right? So Jiva Goswami and of course Prabhupada's purports are very very clear that these Brahman realized souls were wanting, desiring that, right? So again, fearlessness. We all know that. What is fear? In a way, what is the cause of fear? It is just simple. We can call it change or time, right? Time means actually decay in the sense in ours, in the material sense. The cause of fear is because everything is destroyed by time. Everything is decays by time. So that way, fear is cause, and inauspiciousness is because by very nature, Atma is a part and parcel. He's pure, becomes inauspicious only because of avidya. He's forgetting that he's soul, but he is considering himself as a body. That's why it's in a, and main reason for inauspiciousness is Maya. Okay. In the spiritual world, there is no Maya. Simple. Right. So this wonderful, right? These three what you can attractive words, right? For us, Amritam, Kshemam, and Abhayam. These three are there in the spiritual world, right? If you want to experience that, you need to go out of this material world, or we need to get out of the clutches of Maya. So beautiful. Again, it's time, but these are very technical, wonderful verses. Again, which forms the basis foundation of this. Uh, these are the very few points I could think from this verse. I Very difficult subject. I understand. I humbly request you to pardon me in case I've made any points which are erroneously quoted. Please feel free to add any more points. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Anyone has got any other points to share or any points to discuss, anything to add? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrajanath Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, thank you for your nice class. You have nicely explained about this today's words. I was not there. So, Vedgame Mataji, are you there for today's Kannada translation? Okay, looks like Mataji is not feeling well.
Yes, Prabhu. Even I was, past 2 days having this cold and cough, and I was very worried whether I'll be able to do the class today. Anyway, somehow.
Okay, little bit I heard. So, this verse is also talking about the spiritual world and material world and what is available in the spiritual world. what is not available in the material world is very clearly explained here. Like deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from the anxiety, the old age, disease. Yeah. Often we talk, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi.
Yeah.
So these factors are very much available in material world, but spiritual world is not required. So the Sandhini, uh, Sanvid, Hladini, all these factors are explained. So how to go back to Godhead also very nicely explained. So they may be here at the end purpose is there may be a comparative extension of life, expansion of knowledge and sense of full bliss, but actual deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from old age and disease, etc., are possible only beyond the material spheres of the coverings of the material sky. Such things are situated on the head. There is a Adhyayi Murdash.
Murdasu.
Okay. So, yes, Prabhu, you can continue.
Yes,
You can
Prabhu.
welcome any questions or
Sure.
add-ons.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರಿದ್ರೆ anybody wants to share any point, any
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
yeah,
Dandavat Prabhuji.
and
You mentioned that conditioned soul can experience bliss only through association of devotees and listening to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and also very important, like we have to utilize this human body to perform bhakti. But jnana is to whatever extent they try to experience bliss they cannot experience only through performing bhakti that is possible. You mentioned, Prabhuji, very nicely you mentioned, Prabhuji.
yes,
And the main reason for inauspiciousness is Maya, you mentioned. And also, the Lord is unlimited, not limited to any measure
yes,
that, that we try to measure them. That is not possible. But still, for our understanding, it is explained, you mentioned, Prabhuji.
exactly, Mataji.
Thank you,
Exactly.
Prabhuji. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
very important point. No other person, not just jnanis, any other nishkama karma yogis, nobody can experience this bliss unless the element of bhakti is there. So that is very, very important. We all need to understand. That's why they get frustrated. Whereas you just see even a beginning devotee, he comes in temple one Sunday feast, he's jumping with joy. He goes back home. So beautiful. This is prasadam is so nice. Everything is aspect. He gets it. Even just the element of bhakti, start of bhakti also he experiences this, Mataji. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you for summarizing. Anybody else? If not, yeah, it is very technical subject, but again, very, very important. We need to know all these foundations, and then wonderful more verses are there. Other devotees will explain. Hare Krishna. So